And honestly, I think that's wrong. What is up, everybody, and welcome to today's video. For those of you that are new to the channel, my name is Zach. This is SC Fish Keeping. I appreciate you stopping by. Please hit that subscribe button down below if you have not already. And as always, a very special thank you to all of my members tuning in to today's video. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to ask you a question. And this isn't one of those questions where I just ask you and be like,
oh, just go comment, whatever, because I want more comments.
This is a legitimate question that I truly want to know your opinion and answer on. So here's the question. I'm going to show you two fish. I'm going to put them side by side at the same time, and I want you to tell me which one you more quickly either recognize or relate to. Got it? Pretty simple. Ready? Go. So which one stood out to you? Option number 1 or option number 2? Here, let's do it again. I'm going to show you a different fish. Ready? Go. How about that one? Option number 1 or option number 2? Option number 1 in both cases was a largemouth bass. You might or might not have gotten that. Option number 2 on both cases were what are pretty unanimously considered some of the best freshwater fish that you can keep in an aquarium on just about every list that you're going to look up on the internet. You will never find a largemouth bass listed in any of those top 10 best freshwater fish for your aquarium, whatever. You're not going to find one of those listed on there, and honestly, I think that's wrong. And today, we're going to change that. Today, I'm going to tell you how to take care of your own pet largemouth bass, tell you what you need to do, and try and convince you that the largemouth bass is one of the best fish that you could keep in your fish keeping hobby. Let's get into it. In an effort to establish just a little bit of credibility for myself here, I currently have one largemouth bass in one aquarium. Boom! Credibility established, right? No, so the reason I mention that is just to say that I have kept largemouth bass from little tiny like 1-2 inch fry, wild caught largemouth, all the way up to like 6+ pound largemouth. So a lot of the information that I'm going to share with you on how to take care of them not only comes from my own research and stuff that I've done throughout my years of keeping these fish, but my own personal experiences and what has worked well for me to keep healthy, happy, growing largemouth bass. Let's get into the specifics. Largemouth bass, oh, that's cool. Largemouth bass are one of the most popular, if not the most popular fish out there, period. And I can say that because I'm not just talking about the aquarium hobby as we discussed in the beginning of this video, I'm talking about fishing.
According to ESPN, the American fishing industry is valued at over $60 billion. That's 60 billion, like with a B. And fishing for bass comprises over 43% of all the fishing done.
So with the popularity of this fish as from a fishing perspective and the fact that they are native throughout most of the United States, other spots in North America, they can even be found in Europe, Africa, and Japan. That makes the availability of this fish very, very high, and the likelihood that you could go out and actually catch one and put it in your own aquarium, very, very doable. Now put a disclaimer, make sure you check with your local laws and regulations because some places are not cool with that and others are. So just make sure you check your local laws before going and pulling one of these out of a lake. Let's talk about the care of the largemouth bass. Is it easy? I'm hesitant to say yes. Yes, it's easy, but that doesn't mean it's for beginners. And that's just because this fish is big, it eats a lot, it has an attitude, and you're going to spend money if you try and keep it in an aquarium. So I'm going to say the care for this fish is moderate, but if you know what you're doing, it's a very, very rewarding fish and a rewarding experience, unless you have a jerk of a bluegill. Without a doubt, the most common question that I get asked in regards to largemouth is, what size tank do I need? And that is a difficult question to answer in regards to bass. So let's try. Personally, I'm going to say don't get a largemouth unless you have at least a 125-gallon aquarium ready to go. A 125-gallon aquarium is going to be a great size for a largemouth to grow out in, and before you know it, you're going to have to be upgrading. If you want to try and keep an adult, I'm going to say 300-gallon minimum. But if you're going to try and buy a 300-gallon aquarium, you might as well just buy like a stock tank or a pond, which I've shown you how to do in other videos. just because the cost and actually the layout of a stock tank or a pond is going to be a lot more conducive for keeping a largemouth bass. So those are my sizes: 125 gallon, 300 gallon aquarium, or just go straight to a pond. Water quality is where bass are pretty easy. They're a hardy fish. You don't have to do too much to get the water ready. Just, dechlorinate, make sure you have a well-cycled established aquarium or filter. And other than that, they're going to do well. I have no heater on this. This tank sits right around 69, 70 degrees because it's at room temperature in a basement. So odds are good you can keep a largemouth bass at room temperature unless you have some like crazy temperature swings wherever you live. You can use sand, you can use gravel, add some driftwood, you can do live plants, fake plants. I mean, that's it. Once you get the fish and have the right size, keeping it inside the tank is pretty easy. There's two different strains. There's the northern strain largemouth and then the Florida strain largemouth. Florida strain largemouth can easily reach over 10 pounds, maximum over 20, where the northern strain rarely reaches over 10 pounds and stays a lot smaller. So depending on the strain of fish that you get, your sizes can be a little bit different. Average lifespan of a largemouth bass is 16 years. So it's one of those fish that you're getting into for the long haul. So keep that into consideration, because the absolute worst thing that you can do with any fish, but especially largemouth, is take that fish, it gets too big for your aquarium, and you stick it back in the body of water where it came from. Do not do that. I cannot stress that enough. Do not release your fish back into the wild. Largemouth bass can actually do very well with specific types of tank mates. Personally, for me, I would not do another largemouth. Don't do it. They're going to fight. Stick to things like large bluegill, large crappie, or some species of large catfish like channel catfish. You'll notice I said large on all of that. That's because largemouth bass obviously have a large mouth. If it fits in their mouth, they will eat it. You could do like a big school of minnows and just kind of have them in there, but just know that they're going to get eaten. So yeah, stick to the big stuff. School of bluegill, 3, 4, 5 of them, big old catfish in your gigantic pond, and you are going to be set. You got lots of activity and a happy largemouth. Let's think about what the largemouth bass eats in the wild. They're going to eat things like other fish. They're going to eat things like frogs, crayfish, insects, worms. If they can find it and they can fit it in their mouth, odds are good they're going to eat it. So how does that translate over into the aquarium? Well, pretty much means they're not going to eat things like flakes. This guy eats frozen thawed tilapia and shrimp very regularly. Other than that, I do still feed him live minnows. I feed him live crawfish. And that's just to give him kind of a variety diet and make sure that he's still active and chasing his food. Feeding a largemouth, of course, is one of the most fun aspects of keeping the fish. And I happen to have a whole bunch of stuff we can choose from. Let's get into the feeding. So that right there is a very happy and very full largemouth bass. You probably can't tell, but he actually still has one of those little tiny crayfish in his mouth after sucking down a bunch of minnows. And probably never guess, I just fed him 2 days ago. So yeah, definitely a hungry fish, definitely something that's a lot of fun to feed. Very personable, as you saw. He was like chasing my finger and then he took that worm right from my hands. So they're fun to hand feed. Just make sure you have a lid on the tank because they will jump. Yeah, so that's pretty much the basics of what you need to know to keep your very own pet largemouth. The size, the care requirements, a little bit of the backstory, the diet, all that fun stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you want to see me do another care guide like this on the smallmouth bass, because, well, they're similar. It's a totally different ball game with a smallmouth bass. So let me know down in the comments if you want to see that. Other than that, I hope you guys learned something. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know if you've ever kept a largemouth bass or would want to keep a largemouth bass. And until the next video, this is Zach with SC Fish Keeping, reminding you that every fish is a keeper. Largemouth bass especially. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. See you soon. Mwah. Mwah.